I was trying to explain it to my Tibetan Buddhist monk at noontime today. Okay,
Yeah,
and
full schedule.
I do have a full schedule in that sense. Okay, so Edinger said that Buddha was at the self end of the spectrum, and that Christ was at the ego end, okay, of the spectrum. So I'm trying to figure out, what the hell was he saying? Because I'm looking at both Christianity and Buddhism and Jungian psychology in the middle of that. And, um, the Buddhist monk is emphasizing meditation, right? So he's saying, let's go directly to the self, okay? And so Buddhists have done that, and so have Hindus, okay? They have meditation, and, they experience directly the self. But unfortunately, you say, well, to what end? Because in the end is nirvana, which is nothingness. It's not rebirth, and it's not nothing in this life, so, what the hell? Okay? And so, yes, you're at the pleroma, you're at the psychic ground. It's even beyond the self, because there's nothing there. It's beyond pleroma. It's beyond opposites. Whereas on the opposite end of the spectrum is Job and Christianity, where you're going to get to the self, but you have to go boom, boom, boom. You're a marble that's bouncing back and forth, and you're having all these Job-like experiences, contest, defeat, lamentation, and rebirth. Okay, and you get reborn and reborn and reborn. And so we don't have rebirth after death. We have rebirth during life. Right? And so we're reborn into something we were supposed to be. So if we go in The Voice, we find out we're not supposed to be a singer. So we go on to something else, right? And
it's a little bit like Chinese Buddhism. They had two basic schools, and one of them was withdraw and complete yourself in meditation and your union with Tao.
Yeah, Tao.
And then you got the other side that says, no, we got to go out and basically herd everyone towards the Tao, and they're going to go out and bring everybody into it. So you've got what you were talking about. That's what made me think of it. Was that you've got the
one side that just goes directly to the Tao, and therefore nothing happens in the real world, and so therefore they can live on $1 a day.
Because they're perfecting themselves.
They're perfecting themselves,
and they don't even want that $1 a day. It's just that's what they got to do to sustain themselves enough to get further away from that dollar.
Right.
Whereas these guys are decided, and Job has said, I'm going to live in this world. And well, he's not saying that either. But he's saying, I'm attached. I've got attachments, and I'm going to cultivate these attachments. These say, I reject all attachment. And the Gnostic says, these guys are right. The ones who reject the attachment, because being born is actually going to hell. Being manifested in the physical, what we call a physical world, is hell.
Yeah.
Because you suffer. The Buddhists will tell you,
sure,
you're suffering.
That's right.
And you want to let go of all attachment so you don't suffer.
Yeah. And that, reminds me of my experience with Mephistopheles, right? Where my daughter told me I was going to hell when she was 22 years old. And she was right. I've been in hell ever since because of that. Because in some sense, I don't know how to interact with my daughter properly. Okay? And so that is a kind of hell. Okay, is it going to be posthumous hell? No. hell's here, okay? But it definitely,
That's your hell
I thought it was
image.
other people.
yeah, but it,
Reverse.
no, but I mean, as I've meditated on it the last few days, I have to say that, that statement put me in hell. Okay, and I certainly had the Mephistopheles vision that night.
I think there are things we remember that people say to us that do put us in a state of hell.
Pardon?
There are things that people say to us that stick in our mind that we remember for decades.
Yeah, sure. That put us in a state of hell, exactly. Okay, so,
Can I digress one small digression?
sure.
We've been so linear so far. You say
We haven't been so
You
linear.
mentioned the steps.
We're only halfway through this paragraph.
The Edinger steps, the conflict, the loss, the lamentation, and the rebirth.
Right.
But I think he leaves out something.
What is
I was
that?
thinking about this on the train this morning. Between lamentation and rebirth, I think he leaves out that you have to reprogram yourself and deconstruct your persona completely.
You do.
It collapses. It has to collapse. And I think that's a very important part of it. And it's not necessarily something you think about, but it's something you have to do to get to rebirth.
Is that like an
So
acceptance?
you don't believe in karma? You don't carry forward anything
Yeah.
of a past life?
Well, I
I
think,
think you have to consciously deconstruct your persona.
Between
Yeah.
lamentation.
You have to say that what I had was, and I got that from Krenwinkel, the Krenwinkel interview.
Right,
She said,
right.
I had to completely disavow everything that I ever knew before. This was when she was under Manson's spell.
Right.
She had this whole complex of, quote, wrong ideas or ideas that ended up being malevolent that she brought with her to Manson, and then Manson reinforced those. And so for years,
Well,
when she was, even after her conviction and she was in jail, she had to deconstruct all of that.
I agree. Okay, but I think that's implicit in lamentation. Okay, that petition to the Supreme Court that I completed is exactly that. I mean, in 2008, I thought I was doing okay in my career. Okay, I had a net worth of somewhere toward $1 million, and I thought everything was cool. And then I find out that these people on Wall Street, okay, and that's a projection, so I'll withdraw that projection. But I had a projection before that they were solid. Okay, that wasn't a proper projection. Okay, and it's not a projection that I should have had. I was working with Lehman Brothers, which was a 187-year-old firm, and I thought they were solid. That was a projection that I had based on what I knew. Okay, but it wasn't true. And so I made an all-in bet on that projection, and it failed miserably, okay? And so then I had a projection that we have a rule of law in this country, and that at least I could fight in the courts to defend my rights to be heard, that I had documentation done that proved before the beginning of my lawsuit that Navy Federal Credit Union did not own my note. Okay, that I did not owe them the money. Yes, maybe I owe someone, but I don't owe them any money. And so I tried to stop them from taking my home because I didn't owe them, and nobody would listen to me. And then it was only 2 years later, a year and a half later, that the other side admitted, oh yeah, Navy Federal Credit Union sold your note in 2004 and they were paid. Okay, so why are they trying to take my home now? Okay,
Right.
They were paid in 2004. Okay, and so what are they doing? They're patching over a huge flaw. It's a lacuna in the whole system. Okay, it's a complete falsehood, because all these banks that sued people on foreclosure, they weren't owed the money. They weren't owed the money. They were paid.
So that was like Yahweh acting on you then.
Yeah. Okay. And so so I've had to accept all these slings and arrows, like Yahweh did to Job. You know, I lost my savings. So far I've officially lost my home. Maybe at the Supreme Court we have a little common sense, but I'm not highly reliant on that. And so, you know, the thing that they will assume is that they can deny me and get away with it. And then they can completely cover over the problem. The problem they have.
The lamentation phase then is where the scales fall from your eyes about these.
Well, in the lamentation,
positive projections.
yeah, the lamentation phase is I thought I gave up the practice of law in 1979 because I detested it. And I've spent the last 4 years having to fight a case that I've filed 4,000 pages in when I didn't want to practice law in the first place, even though I became a lawyer.
So is that the rebirth, picking up the pieces and taking action at that point?
Well, I mean, the rebirth is this group. This has a lot more meaning to me than any of that ever did. Okay. And so, yeah, that was building up a life that, you know, paid the bills. But, you know, you have to pay the bills and then you have to live your life. And what does your life mean? Okay, that's a fundamental thing about Jungian psychology, which is what does your life mean? Okay, and only you can decide that. Okay, and so, you know, I think I have some meanings to my life. I won't.
I never know them until I've done them.
Yeah, I mean, and you may never know until you're
That's what I
done.
meant.
You may never know until you get to the end, but the point is, okay, your life can mean as something as simple as you have a son. Okay, that's fine. My mother-in-law, you know, she's a perfect mother archetype, and the meaning of her life is that she lived the mother archetype, and she's had it. And although she doesn't have any biological grandchildren, she does have, she's about to have 9 great-grandchildren who are not biological, but whose lives she has influenced as a great-grandmother.